Good Friday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harabsky. Right now, federal employees are back at work for a second day since the longest government shutdown in the history of the United States has ended. As things get back to business, the nation is working to recover. Michelle Beck tells us more.
Hey there, here's a snapshot of flights because impacts from the shutdown are ongoing. FlightAware telling us today at MSP travelers are facing 6 total delays and right here 18 cancellations. But big picture outlook, the FAA's flight reduction mandate is still in effect, now at 6%. But once that's lifted, major airlines say they're ready to ramp their schedules back up to normal. The Homeland Secretary yesterday said $10,000 bonuses are going out to TSA agents who worked without pay during the shutdown. MSNBC reports those checks are headed to several thousand agents.
They went above and beyond. They helped individuals. They served extra shifts. They helped with transportation of people getting back and forth to work, other challenges that families may have.
Yeah, so I was checking this, and some on social media have been asking where those TSA bonuses are coming from. An internal memo at the Department of Homeland Security points to carryover funds from fiscal year 2025. Back to you.
With the government getting back to business, attention on the Hill now shifting to the new developments in the case of the late sex offender and trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. The House of Representatives set to hold a vote next week on whether to order the Justice Department to release all files on that case. This comes after the House Oversight Committee released more than 20,000 files earlier this week, among them emails and text messages mentioning President Donald Trump. That includes a 2019 email where Epstein allegedly wrote in reference to Trump saying, quote, "Of course he knew about the girls," end quote. President Trump ignoring reporter questions during a press conference on Wednesday and calling the scandal a, quote, hoax. Today, Trump saying he will ask the DOJ to investigate Epstein's ties to some of his perceived enemies, including Bill Clinton, J.P. Morgan, and Reid Hoffman, writing, quote, "Records show that these men and many others spent large portions of their life with Epstein," end quote. Developing today, a judge is reviewing the request for a third trial against the man convicted of coordinating the murder of Minneapolis realtor Monique Bowe. The request came in just moments before he was sentenced. He was supposed to be sentenced. Now, last week, Wiggins was convicted for the crime for the second time of planning Bowe's murder in 2019. His first conviction in 2022 was wiped by the state Supreme Court over incorrect instructions given to the jury. This time, Wiggins' attorney claims the judge intimidated defense witnesses by overly warning them of their right not to self-incriminate. A cautionary tone, she claims, the state witnesses didn't get.
He wasn't given the level of warning that our witnesses were given about federal exposure, including potential capital punishment.
The Hennepin County Attorney's Office released a statement shortly after that motion came down saying that they believe Wiggins' trial was fair. They added their sympathies for Bowe's family, who have waited 5 years for a resolution in this case. Well, this afternoon, the BCA is investigating after a man was shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy during a police pursuit. This all happened in Bagley, which is about 25 miles west of Bemidji. The Clearwater County Sheriff's Office says a deputy recognized the man who had a felony warrant. When the deputy approached the man, officials say that there was a struggle and he took off. Deputies chased him about a quarter mile when they say he fired a, quote, flare-like projectile at them. That's when a deputy shot at him, killing him. One deputy also had a minor injury. Right now, St. Paul police are searching for a driver in a deadly hit and run. Police say a woman was hit just after 5 p.m. This is yesterday near St. Anthony Avenue and Aldine Street. She was taken to the hospital with a broken leg and head trauma and later died. People in the area told police that they saw a dark SUV leaving that scene. Anyone with information is asked to contact St. Paul PD. This afternoon, some Starbucks workers are on strike for a second day. Hundreds of unionized workers from Starbucks across the country began their strike yesterday. They're protesting the lack of progress in labor negotiations with the company.
We walked away from the negotiating table because Starbucks' final offer was a 2% raise, and they weren't willing to budge from that.
Starbucks, the company, says it offers the best wage and benefits package in retail, worth an average of $30 an hour. The two sides have not met at the bargaining table since April. A 42-year-old mystery is solved this afternoon. Officials have identified a baby found dead on the side of the road in 1983. The baby's parents were found with the help of some new technology. Joe McCoy has a closer look at how authorities cracked this case, and we do want to warn you the details of this can be disturbing.
Nearly 43 years ago on a cold January day, this road in Blaine, between Highway 65 and Radisson Road, became a crime scene. A one-day-old baby girl found dead, abandoned in the middle of the road with her placenta still attached.
We've received numerous calls from motorists that thought it was a doll, a discarded doll that was laying right on the center line of the roadway.
The community was very invested in this case.
Tyranny Peters with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office says at the time, officials were unable to determine if the baby was alive when she was born or who her parents were. The community held a funeral for the baby and named her Rachel Marie Doe.
I believe there was around 170 cars in the parking lot for this baby's funeral.
But love for the unknown baby girl could not help the Anoka County Sheriff's Office figure out who her parents were. Any leads dried up and the case went colder than the day she was found. That's until last year.
They sent some of the biological samples that we still had to Othram Labs in Texas.
The DNA lab and forensic genealogy company created a DNA profile for the baby and uploaded it into genealogy databases, helping piece together the baby's family tree.
While you upload this DNA profile, you might land on a relative that is, a third cousin. And then ultimately, you can narrow in on the actual identity of the person.
Then this July rolled around.
Our detectives met with the suspected mother of the child, and upon meeting with her, she did admit to being the mother of this child and shared her story for the first time.
Investigators say the then teenage mother delivered the baby at home, believed it was stillborn, and left it on the road in panic, hoping someone would pick it up. Detectives also talked with the baby's father, who denied knowing about the pregnancy.
I believe that there are a lot of people who this story has been weighing on their hearts.
Still a lot of questions there. The Anoka County Attorney's Office weighed filing charges against the mother, but ultimately decided the, quote, evidence and interests of justice did not support the filing of any criminal charges. This afternoon, Switzerland announcing it plans to invest $200 billion in the United States through 2028. That announcement came after the Trump administration agreed to lower tariffs on most Swiss goods to 15%, and that's down from what it was at 39%, which was the highest rate in Western Europe. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer calling this a great opportunity to fix U.S. trade with Switzerland.
Working with the Swiss, what we've done is we've identified the areas and the reasons why we have a big deficit with them in goods, and it really boils down to things like pharmaceuticals, gold, right, trade in gold, and a handful of other things. And so the Swiss, as part of their agreement, they've said we are going to have $200 billion in investment, during President Trump's term, starting with about $70 billion investment next year, and it will be in these areas.
Greer said Switzerland will move manufacturing of some pharmaceuticals and gold smelting to the U.S. In Gaza today, officials receiving pleas of help after heavy rainfall flooded the camps of displaced Palestinians overnight. The spokesperson for Gaza Civil Defense saying that some places saw up to 3 inches of water, but the resources for assistance are, quote, non-existent. People were seen trying to mop out rainwater from their tents, clothes, and other belongings with no way to dry them out. Medical aid for Palestinians describing this as one of the hardest days since the ceasefire. This afternoon, French authorities saying that police shot and wounded a knife-wielding man at Paris's train station. According to the authorities, the man also inflicted knife wounds on himself. The altercation caused a surge of the crowd through the concourse, and the station had to be evacuated. Paris prosecutors said the man was known to police for domestic violence. Overnight, Ukraine's capital city of Kyiv enduring a large wave of Russian airstrikes. At least 4 people were killed and dozens other injured as the skies lit up from the incoming missiles you see. President Zelensky said that 430 drones and 18 missiles were used, making this attack one of the largest on the capital during the war so far. NBC's Raf Sanchez tells us more.
This was a massive attack on the Ukrainian capital overnight, and following a pattern that has now become grimly familiar. Authorities in Kyiv saying Russia launched some 400 drones, the idea being to overwhelm Ukraine's air defenses and then follow that wave of drones with a barrage of missiles. And it seems that it was those missiles that caused a lot of the major damage here. And authorities are saying that they have lost power and water in some areas of Kyiv and that there may be survivors under the rubble. Now, the Ukrainians are saying that they hit back with long-range cruise missiles. They're called Long Neptunes. They're made in Ukraine. That's interesting because the Ukrainians have been desperate for American-made Tomahawk cruise missiles. That's something that President Trump floated giving them and then decided not to in the end. The Ukrainians are saying they are having some success with these domestically made missiles. The reality, though, is Ukraine is still massively outgunned, especially when it comes to drone production. And this violence just underscoring that at this point, it really does not seem that President Trump's efforts to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine are going anywhere. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, London.
Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.